What's up, fight fans, and welcome to episode 2 of the
Well,
Rusty Cage podcast. Ryan Jarrell here with Greg Williams and our special guest today, the ugly man himself, Mr. Joseph Holmes, who has got a big fight coming up August the 2nd, Fury FC 95, when he takes on Elias Urbina. Obviously, guys, we talked before we started here. We're going to get into this upcoming, UFC Denver card, which is this weekend. But first, Joe, we're going to start with you, man. It's been a long time since we've seen you fight, over a year since your last fight inside of the UFC octagon, man. So how are you feeling right now? How excited are you to get back in there and compete?
I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited, man. For a while, I kind of lost myself, as far as like my direction, who I am, what am I on this world, on this earth to do. But I had a really gnarly neck injury that really just made things difficult, to just be able to go out and train the way you want, or just get out there and just do what I've always loved to do. So once I got that out of the way, I was able to start training hard and stuff. And then I got on an ambassador grappling team, Moeller MMA. So now I grapple a lot more often and stuff, and just started getting better every day, like at the beginning of when I was training. And that kind of pushed me to take another fight again. So I am excited.
What happened with the neck injury? How did that happen?
I don't know how it happened, but even before my last fight, like it would be off and on. Like I'd get like a really bad, just something in the back left of my neck where I couldn't lay down, I couldn't like turn to the left. And when I'd lay down, I literally would have to lift my own head just to get up out of bed. And it would happen on and off, but right kind of before my last fight is when it got as bad as it's ever got. And I kind of was trying to deal with that throughout the fight, which made things a little difficult for me, as far as running and the things I needed to do. So you kind of feel like you can't back out of like a UFC fight, but I do wish I did, because it was pretty bad and it lasted me a while too. So it was just my own little adversity I had to get through, and I think it was just from wear and tear of just training, and definitely wrestling, like wrestling training added to it. So,
Yeah, I mean, you hear a lot of fighters that, once they make it to the UFC, it's like, oh, I've made it now, right? And, you're one of a lot of guys that have got there, and, a couple of fights, and then you're, back, fighting here on the regional scene. Was that difficult, like for you mentally to get back into like a real positive, you know, mind frame to get back to where, ultimately you want to be? Because I'm sure that's the UFC.
yeah, it was really difficult. I mean, everybody who like will, see me will want to just talk about the UFC. Oh, when's your next UFC fight? Da 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 da. And then having to just constantly explain, I didn't get re-signed. I'm not in the UFC right now. Just to every single person I see definitely takes a toll. And like, I don't really get embarrassed too often, but I guess it could be a little embarrassing when people just don't get it. What really goes into being in the UFC and not being in the UFC. And yeah, it was really, really hard. And especially when like I also have this neck injury that's hindering my training, and I'm not much for excuses, but like, people aren't seeing me at the gym as much. And, they start like just saying certain things like, oh, you don't train no more? Or, I had an interview or something, and he's like, without even asking me first, he's just like, oh, well, he's just like, you don't train anymore or something. And I was like, no, I still want to fight. He's like, oh yeah, so since you're done fighting and stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's just, you know what I mean? It's kind of definitely hard on the mental, because I know what I want to do, but just having to explain it to everyone all the time makes you not want to go around people, just kind of just hermit in your house.
Mm. Greg, I know you got to know Joseph really well. He came up to, do a broadcast with us. I'm sure you have a question or two for Joseph for his fight.
Yeah, yeah, man. I gotta cut Joe, man. Great to see you again.
Good to see you
Awesome,
too.
man.
To come back up there.
Yeah, man. Did you get any? Well, I got two questions for you. One, did you get any therapy done with the diagnosis, or are you just kind of pushing through it?
At first, I was just kind of pushing through it, trying to ice it, and keep it chill for a while. But yeah, I saw this really famous chiropractor out here. His name's Dr. G. And like my neck was so stiff and bad before I saw him, so I was actually incredibly like nervous for him to get into it, because chiropractors, you see those videos and they just like, you know what I mean? And I was
Yeah,
really
I'm
scared to
addicted.
experience.
I'm addicted to those videos. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I did go and see him, and I told him like my condition ahead of time and stuff, and he's like, "Oh, well, just don't worry about it. I got you," And he did. He cracked me in ways, like my neck in particular, that I'd never been cracked before, and I
Wow.
didn't think could be cracked that way with all the pain I was experiencing on a constant basis at the time. So, yeah, he did get into my neck, and he cleared me and stuff. And I'm actually going through that right now, to get it like medically cleared for this fight.
Good, man. And my other question is, when you hear people talking, and of course, as a fighter, how do you use that as motivation to work harder? Like, I know you want to like distance yourself from people because you don't want to hear anything that's really going to be negative. Because I know you a little bit, and I know you're a positive guy. I mean, I always think of you as thinking like real positive and upbeat. So, when people are talking and saying things like, "Oh, you don't train anymore," and it gets annoying, even though you retreat to your inside, like how do you use that as motivation? Do you have like this drive to say, all right, you don't think I train anymore, but okay, keep thinking that, because I'm going to come back and you're going to see a new version of me.
Well, I'm just gonna be totally transparent. I never really used it as motivation. For me, like I'm the kind of guy, I like to consider myself like a dreamer. I do like all the things I've ever wanted to do. So the only reason I've ever fought is just because I wanted to. Um, and just because I love it. And so when people are being that way and stuff, I never really found a way to use it as motivation, to be totally honest. What motivated me to take another fight was when I got accepted onto the Moeller MMA ambassador team. And for a long time at my home gym, there was nobody there to push me to get better. Like every time I'd go to the gym, I was there to make everyone else better. And so when I got on the Moeller MMA team, every day I'd go to the gym, I'm learning stuff, I'm learning new things, or I'm getting tapped out by, other guys around me. Or there's just so much information and knowledge for me to gain that I stopped going to the gym to help other people. I started going back and getting better and focusing on myself again. And so when that
Yeah.
happened, that's kind of what motivated me to say yes when that fight opportunity came, because now I got jiu-jitsu tournaments left and right. I'm competing this Saturday. I'm competing on the 4th, a couple days after my fight, Dallas Open. And so now I'm just, my drive is just through the roof. Like now I'm just feeling like I can take on anyone, and I can actually start to get better and as a fighter again too.
So all your
Awesome.
sparring rounds for this training camp to get you ready for Elias has been guys at the Moeller MMA team.
So you actually cut off there. I didn't hear you the beginning of your question.
I was saying, so all of like your sparring rounds, the guys that you're really getting after it with MMA wise, to get you ready for Elias, they're all at the Moeller MMA team. You haven't been going anywhere else.
I haven't been going anywhere else. No, I still go to my home gym, and there's actually one guy in particular who is a southpaw, and he's a heavy kicker, just like my opponent is. So I've been trying to get extra rounds with him whenever I spar. But I've mainly been focusing on my grappling, my wrestling, and then my competing again to deal with the nerves and jitters. I did Eddie Bravo's Invitational, I think, a month back. And so mainly I've just been focusing on my wrestling, my grappling, my wrestling defense. I have a guy named Jet who's like a world-class wrestler who I get to train with very often at Moeller MMA. And so, yeah, I've mainly just been trying to focus on me. He's the guy I'm fighting, Elias. He's good. I've seen he's very skilled, but the skill level he's on is kind of something I've seen more when I was like an amateur. He's not super well rounded. I've seen him get some subs, but I just see him kick. He's not really high volume. He throws a couple hard kicks, and he just looks for like a head kick or a body kick and stuff. So, you know, I just feel like mainly I just need to focus on me and just making myself better, and I'll be ready for what he's bringing to the table. It'll be a fun fight.
Well, Greg, I don't know if you know much about Elias Urbina, but he was on The Ultimate Fighter. He also lost on Dana White's Contender Series. It was a round 2 TKO loss, if I'm not mistaken. So there is plenty of tape to kind of look at him fighting, you know, on a high level on TV in front of the masses. Is this a fight, Joseph, where you feel like, I mean, obviously you're more seasoned. You've been already to the big show. You've been in there with some killers already. You just feel like you're on another level at this stage of your career than Elias is.
I wouldn't necessarily say I'm on another level. I would say that I think I've experienced a lot more and I've had a lot more lessons, maybe. Um, Whereas I just feel like my best self will beat Elias 9 out of 10 times, you know, which is why I've been trying to like focus on myself and make sure I can be my best self. I kind of feel like I've matured a lot, that this fight game, anything can happen. And so, like, if I go in there trying to just focus on, you know, him, I might not be able to be my best self. So I just want to kind of like be loose, have fun, and just get back to like loving to get in there and entertain. And I think that 9 out of 10 times, I think I'll win that fight.
Do you think this will be a finish?
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't like judges. That's just the way I fight. You know, I call myself a submission fighter because I'm trying to get you out of there however I can. I'm not really trying to fight you back and forth for 3 rounds. I'm down, but I really don't want to. I just want to just figure out what hurts and keep on sending it.
Has your manager Jason House told you maybe what it is that you need to accomplish as far as number of wins before the UFC entertains bringing you back? Is that a conversation that you've had?
Kinda. Not necessarily like that. We did talk about let's get a nice contract with Fury, because that is the feeder that got me into the UFC in the first place. And from there, you know, either finish the contract and knock out these wins, or you know, within that time, you know, if I can show off, I could just get re-signed right away. So the goal is to just get in here and just get back to my old self and just enjoy the process again. You know, for a while, like fighting was paying my bills. Fighting was like, if I don't fight, I can't pay rent. So I got to where I'm like better sustained. And so now I'm just fighting for the love of it again. And so with that, I know I can get to the UFC again. I got there before and I wasn't even my best self then. And so I just got to be better than I've ever been.
And I thought we were going to see you on this season of The Ultimate Fighter. What happened there? Was that disappointing that you weren't on the show?
It wasn't. It wasn't because like I'm married and I didn't want to be away from my wife that long anyway. But I was down and she was supporting it too, and so it would have been cool to experience that. That's one of the first like ways I witnessed MMA fighting in the at all. So just to be on that show would have been pretty awesome. But I wasn't that bummed out. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Being in a house full of guys and really what I really wanted to do anyway. I'd rather be tangled up on the couch with my wife after cutting weight or something. Having to cook for myself didn't sound fun. Like,
Yeah, I mean, when you put it that way, it sounds like you definitely got the better end of the deal than being in a house with a bunch of alpha males screaming and breaking stuff. Greg, before we transition to this upcoming UFC Denver card, do you have anything else for Joseph about his upcoming fight?
No, just that I can't wait to see it, and can't wait to see the best version of you that you're going to bring out there, man. It sounds like you're getting to where you were when you started the process to get to the UFC, and now it's just getting back and being your old self. So it's great that you recognize that. I wish you a lot of luck, man.
thank you, man.
Yeah, that goes for me as well, Joe. You know that. All right, guys, let's talk about this upcoming card, shall we? Your main event. Let's start right there. Rose Namajunas, Tracy Cortez. Rose is your favorite, the former champion. Minus 205, minus 220, depending on the site you're looking at. Cortez is the dog, plus 175. Joseph, let me start with you. Can Tracy Cortez spring the upset, or do you feel like Rose Namajunas secures this win?
I don't think we've seen much of Rose lately, right? She hasn't fought in a little while. I think Tracy's been pretty busy and stuff lately. I'm a huge Rose fan, so I would like her to come out there. And I think she kind of suffers like a little of what I kind of deal with too, which is like mental health, like being in my head and stuff all the time, Rose. So I really hope that she can be her best self. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I really hope that she could come out and be her best self because I love when she is. She sets up a lot of nice kicks and her combos are out of this world. So I'll go for Rose. I really hope she can pull it off. I like it a lot.
Greg, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm a Thug Rose fan, and I think her striking skills, I think will take over, and I think that's a good bet at plus 350 for her to win by TKO. So that's my take on that.
You're going with Thug Rose via TKO plus 350. Yeah, that could win you some coin. Let me just say one thing, guys. I'm a Rose fan too, but I'm also a fan of Tracy Cortez. She's all right. She's not bad herself. But I am going with Rose. I do think she wins. I think she'll get it done. I'm not sure how she wins, but I think she wins. So I'll just leave it at that before my wife walks in the room and throws something at me. What do you got to say?
Are you a Brian Ortega fan too? I'm just asking, man. Just wondering.
Yeah, I mean, I could care less about Ortega when Tracy Cortez walks in the room. I'm just going to be honest. But again, like, I'm going to get things thrown at me. So let's move on to the co-main event, shall we? Santiago Ponzinibbio, Muslim Salikov. Ponzinibbio is your favorite, minus 185. Salikov plus 155 as your underdog. The Kaze Kingpin. Let me go with you here first, man. What are we going to see here in this co-main?
I have trouble saying his last name. I love the way you pronounce it. That's amazing. But I'd go with Pozanuzliov or whatever, however you say that. I'd go with him. And I'd look for him to get the sub.
He's an aggressive fighter, and I think he rightfully is the favorite. Joseph, what do you see in this fight? I mean, I think both of these guys are fairly evenly matched. They got kind of contrasting styles. Who do you see winning this one?
I'm gonna go with Ponzinibbio too. I mean, but he kind of fell off, didn't he? Like break his leg or something like that at some point. I think he had an injury that kind of like held him back, but he used to be so nasty, and his striking was super aggressive and forward, and he head hunt. And I used to play with him on the game too. He was one of my favorite people to play with because he would just knock you out cold. So I would like to see Ponzinibbio win. Plus, I don't really know Salikov, who that is.
Yeah, Ponzinibbio, he's had a lot of time in between fights. He actually lost to Kevin Holland, was his last fight in 2023. So last year, it's been over a year. And then prior to that, he actually beat Alex Morono in December of 2022. So he's had a lot of time in between fights. I wonder if that is going to play a factor at all against Salikov, who has been a little bit more active, it seems. Randy Brown, Nicholas Dalby, Andre Fialho. So he's again been in there with some real tough competition as well. But interesting fight there in your co-main. This next one really could be the co-main, guys. Let's be honest. Drew Dober and Gene Silva. My God, like it's going to be absolute fireworks, and it's a pick 'em right now, minus 110 apiece. Joseph, who's your pick in this one? What do you think is going to happen here in this lightweight bout?
I like Dober a lot, and he's super handsome. I think he's like a superstar, man, and I like him a lot. I remember meeting him in person. He's so tan and handsome, like he has that crimson chin. Like he's a good dude. So I would like to see Drew Dober win this. Yeah, and like he's like game too. Like I remember seeing him fight Streamrolla Frivola, and they just got out there banging, and like you're so brave to bang with Streamrolla. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I got Dober on this fight.
Greg, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I got Drew Dober as well. And he's a handsome dude. And I hope my wife doesn't come out here, and smack me up, for saying that. I'm surprised Joe went there, but yeah, I was looking at Dober's record, and in the beginning of his career, he had a lot of a lot of his fights were decided on the ground, on the mat. And then the second half of his career, a lot of his fights are decided by strikes, whether he wins or loses. And he's had a really good, decent career. So a lot of them by strikes. So I got him by KO, by body hook, which he's been killing people with. So that's, and it's not a heavy favorite. It's a negative 125, I think, for him to win by TKO. But that's one of my dogs for the week right there. TKO, Drew Dober.
Okay. Well, right now it's a pick 'em. It's both minus 110, but I'll tell you what, like I feel like obviously both you guys know this. There's weight classes for a reason, and Gene Silva's been fighting down a weight class. You're coming up against Dober, who's a pretty ripped up guy at 155. He's a big dude and he's got a lot of power. Plus, Silva just fought. Like, it's not like he's had a whole lot of time to game plan for someone like Dober. And up a weight class, give me Drew Dober. Speaking of very muscular guys, Ange Lusa, my God, this guy is a monster, and he's a pretty sizable underdog against Gabriel Bonfim. Lusa plus 250. Bonfim is your favorite, minus 300. Joseph, let me start with you here first on this one. What do you think we're going to see? Will Bonfim keep that record, that very stellar record he has, and notch another win, or is Lusa going to spring the upset here?
Dude, honestly, the only person I could like, I've seen Bonfim. He's like the short, light-skinned dude. Isn't he short and like real stocky? Bonfim?
He's 6'1", actually. So
but he
he's
seems kind of short, like, because he's like wide.
yeah,
I feel like I'm a person.
he is stocky, like he is ripped up, but Lusa is a monster. He is thick, like he looks like a linebacker.
Yeah, I don't really know too much about this fight, but I know Bonfim is an animal. But like, and when you're like real big like that holds you back, man. Sometimes, like as far as cardio and stuff. But what is this, a heavyweight bout?
No,
Like
this is a lightweight bout. This is a welterweight
lightweight?
bout. Welterweight bout.
Yeah, I don't have enough information, but I would go for Bonfim just because of the knowledge. I only know who he is. I'm gonna look up this Lusa guy though. You're boosting him.
Oh, he's just a monster. Like, physically, when you look at him, he's an absolute beast. Greg, what do you think that Lusa can spring this upset, or do you feel like Bonfim is gonna just be too technical and get him out of there?
I got Gabriel Bonfim in one of the later rounds to work off some of that muscle mass and go a little bit later. Loose getting tired and Bonfim knocking him out in a later round, second or third round. I also, he's one of my parlay. He's one of the legs of my parlay, and a KO at 400 after Loose is tired. That's one of my picks right there. Okay. Plus 400 KO for Bonfim.
That actually makes a lot of sense too, because with how much muscle he carries, he does tend to fade late. So that I could totally see that happen. That makes a lot of sense. Keep it moving, guys. These next two fights I have circled just because I like both of these guys an awful lot. I've interviewed them for a very, very long time, so I can't help it. I'm a human. I but I can't help but root for these guys. Let's start with Julian Erosa. He's taking on Christian Rodriguez. Juicy J is the dog, plus 180. Christian Rodriguez, your favorite, minus 210. I'm actually surprised. I feel like it should be a heck of a lot closer. Greg, do you agree? What do you think we're going to see here in this featherweight bout?
I'm a fan. I'm a Christian Rodriguez fan. He's impressed me a lot in the last couple of fights. So I got him winning this fight. He's the second leg of my parlay with Bonfim. So at plus 250 for a KO, I got him. I got Christian Rodriguez in this one. I like him a lot.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, all right.
Isn't he
Joseph,
factory? Isn't that where Rodriguez is from?
No, he's Milwaukee, Rufus Sport.
Yeah. I like him a lot too, actually. I haven't seen him too much, but I'd go for him too. I like him a lot. I like his kicks.
Well, forget both of you. I'm going with Julian Erosa submission in round two, like he normally tends to do. Round two or round three, he'll find the neck and he'll get the sub. Julian Erosa is a tall, rangy featherweight. Christian Rodriguez was, typically he was supposed to be fighting at bantamweight, and he's had some big wins over Raul Rosas Jr. Like he's been in there with some tough competition, but I think Juicy J is going to get it done, or at least I hope he does. This next one, guys, Cody Brundage. This is a Factory X guy, Joseph. Plus
Yeah,
145. He's coming off that fight with Bo Nickel. A lot of hype. He can kind of settle down a little bit and not have such a whirlwind of events going into this fight with Abdul Razak Al Hassan. But Al Hassan's your favorite, minus 170, and this guy's a banger. He's got a lot of power. Both of these guys have a lot of power. But what do you think we're going to see in this middleweight bout? This is your weight class.
yeah, I'm surprised that they're so early in the card, but I mean, I guess start the card off with a bang. Abdul is scary, man. He's dangerous too, but I think he's a true like welterweight. I don't recall. Did he have all his fights at middle? I thought
I
he
don't
was like
think
a
so. I think he's fought at welterweight as well.
yeah. He's a little bit shorter, but he's very explosive. And I'm pretty sure he's out there at Fortis MMA. I do like Cody Brundage too. I I just don't personally think he brings enough to the table to face like the diversity of opponents. And this is just my honest opinion because I actually like both guys. I think I've spent more time with Brundage, but I just think Abdul might be a little too explosive, and he'd just be really hard to take down. Like you have to be really cautious with taking a leg kick or like a knee to the face or something, and like even on the stand up, he's just gonna rip you apart. So I don't know. Cody comes out of an awesome camp. I really like Factory X, and I really like their style, but I think I'll have to go with Razak.
Okay. Greg, what do you think?
I kind of agree. I kind of agree with Joe. I think Razak's going to win. I think he's got a more diverse skill set. Although I do like Cody Brundage. I know you've interviewed him a few times, I believe. Is that right, Ryan?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. So I know there's probably some bit of a friendship there, but I'm going to go against him, and I'll go with Joe on this one.
Okay, you guys are going, both of you on both of these fights are going against my guys. Okay, well, it is what it is. It's the fight game. I appreciate your honesty, and not just picking fighters that I want you to pick. So that's what we're here to do. We're here to be honest and give people, our picks is what we think is going to happen. So it's not your fault that you're both going to be wrong. We're all wrong every once in a while, right?
I'll be happy if I'm wrong.
Once. I was wrong once.
Guys, when you look at the undercard here, there's still some really good fights on the undercard. Evan Elder and Darius Flowers was just announced. You got Josh Fremd and Andre Petrosky. That's a good one. Montel Jackson versus Damon Blackshear. Greg, what fight kind of stands out to you on the prelims that you feel like could steal the show, or one that you feel like is a good bet?
Well, the third leg of my parlay, right? So I had Gabriel Bontin by KO plus 400. I got Christian Rodriguez KO plus 200. And my third one is Luana Santos. I really like her to KO at plus 350. Put all those three dogs together, man, you're going to make some money. So Luana Santos, I like her plus 350 KO.
Okay. All right. So what would you win if you put down $20 on that parlay? What is the payout? What are the odds?
Well, I did so bad last week. I don't have $20, but if you did, you would make a lot. I think you would make I don't know. Let's see, that'd be plus 7 plus 20. You'd probably make 550.
Okay.
I think, but I have to do the math. I don't have it in front of me.
I'm gonna shoot you a text later to get those picks again.
Okay, that's a nice return on investment.
Oh yeah, man, no problem.
Joseph, any of those fights that I just mentioned on the undercard that kind of stand out to you, you're really looking forward to?
Who'd you say Fremd was fighting?
He's fighting Andre Petrosky, and it's a pick 'em. It's minus 110 a piece right now.
Well, Fremd's at a Factory X too. He trains with Brundage and them out there. You know what? I'll go for my guy, man. He's long and lanky. And he's not super one-sided. He does have a nice little grappling background, but he's very strong, and he gets to train with some really strong guys as well, like Dustin out there. I think I could see Josh pulling that off. Maybe a decision, or maybe like a late rear naked choke or something. But I'm leaning a little bit more towards like a decision, or something like that.
Yeah. I think the odds are spot on there. I'm staying away from that one as from a betting perspective goes. I'll tell you another one, guys, that I'm staying away from. Maybe Greg, you can enlighten me here on this one. But Montel Jackson and Damon Blackshear right now, Damon is plus 115. Montel is minus 140. Both of these guys have very good skill sets, and they're a little different. Montel's more of a striker. Damon is more of a wrestler grappler. Do you think this fight takes place on the ground or on the feet?
Well, first of all, I'm staying away from the fight. I can't wait to see the fight. It's going to be a great fight. But it's one that, like you, I'm staying away from. I'm not betting on it. I think it's going to the ground. That's my own personal opinion. And I think Damon Blackshear are going to probably win it.
Okay. If it goes to the ground, I would definitely lean Damon. If it does stay on the feet, Montel is rangy, long. He strikes very well. So that's just a really interesting matchup that I'm intrigued to see what happens. One other fight, guys, I want to get your take on before we get out of here today is Josh Van and Charles Johnson. Charles Energy Johnson plus 190, Josh Van minus 225. Really intriguing flyweight bout. Josh Van's got a lot of hype behind him. Charles Johnson, it's like sometimes I don't know what I'm going to get with him. He can go in there and spring big upsets and look amazing, and then other times he just doesn't like perform. I don't know if that's the right word, but do you guys have any thoughts on this flyweight bout?
I'm gonna go
Joe,
first, Greg.
how about you?
I like Van. I think he's one of those guys who just kind of doesn't care about where he is. He just gets out there and does what he does. And Charles he's like a heavy striker kind of guy. He likes to like just punch mainly, is from what I've seen. But I like Van a lot, man. I think he's good. I think he has like a future that he's just kind of tapping into. So this might be his fight.
He's an iridium guy
Yeah.
too, so you know
You know,
he signed with the best agency in the UFC. Greg, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to go against that and go with Johnson early. Like you said, you don't know what you're going to get. He's like a box of chocolate, but you don't know what you're going to get. But if he comes out strong, fast, I see the early KO. If he doesn't get him in the first round, I think he's going to lose. So that's where I go with that.
All right. Well, all in all, guys, this is a really good card. I mean, UFC Denver, there's a lot of gyms out there in Colorado, Factory X, top of the line there. So a lot of great fighters that are training in that area. So I'm excited to see what happens here this weekend in Colorado. Where are you guys watching it? Where are you watching the fights, Joe?
I'll be competing that day, Jiu-Jitsu World League. So I have a pretty busy day. And so afterwards, I'll probably just go to my coaches and pop those on. If we're not watching them on the phone or something, depending on what time I compete. I know the cards usually start pretty early. So I'll probably start off on the phone and then try and end up at my coach's or something so I can sit down after the day I've had and, get ready to really start cutting heavy.
Yeah, man. The fight's your fight will be around the corner too. Again, August the 2nd, I believe. Is that correct? Am I saying that right? August 2nd, Fury FC 95. That's right. So yeah, always great talking to you, Joe. You got to promise that you're going to keep coming back and talking with us on the podcast as much as possible.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. I love you guys to death. Y'all are family. I really just look forward to coming out and seeing you guys again. That was so much fun.
100%,
Yeah,
my
man.
man.
Joe, can't wait to see you again, Joe. Stay good, man.
Yeah, much love, brother.